government spend on those wars. $800 million every single day for over 20 years. This is a crime. And so we're here today as your comrades to say, we demand justice, we demand peace. U.S. out of the Middle East. Thank you. All right, our first speaker, or before we get started, we're going to be doing a land acknowledgement, so I'd like to invite up Pete. Everyone give a warm welcome for Pete.
My name is Peter. I'm an Ojibwe, but I grew up over here on the Puyallup Reservation back in the 80s and 90s. So I'm just going to say that while we protest the occupation and imperialism abroad, we recognize that we've gathered today on stolen land of Coast Salish people. Please give it back. People who have stewarded this land since time immemorial, especially the Puyallup and Nisqually tribes, who were coerced into signing the Medicine Creek Treaty in 1854. We recognize that the so-called United States is founded on the genocide of Native American people, and we commit to the work of land back and indigenous sovereignty and our fight for dignity and human flourishing of all. Thank you.
Yes, and of course, in connecting these indigenous issues across the world right now, it's the same government, the same empire that is oppressing the indigenous people of the United States. It's the same imperialist empire that is oppressing the indigenous Palestinian people. It is the same imperialist empire that now wants to attack the people of Iran. So I want to give us a little chant really quickly that is a global anti-imperialist chant, and it goes like this. Intifada! Intifada! Long live the Intifada! 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 Long live the Intifada! Yeah! Alright, so we're going to have our first speaker today. Zev is a Jewish Voice for Peace member, a Democratic Socialist of America leader, and a candidate for the city of Tacoma, District 5. Everyone give my girl Zev a hand!
Hey all, it's so good to be here with all of you. I'm Zev, I use she, her pronouns. I'm a proud Democratic Socialist running for the Tacoma City Council. Over the last few months, I've knocked on over 10,000 doors, our campaign in District 5, and had thousands of conversations with our neighbors. And we've heard about how Tacomans want to see more investment in public safety, in transportation, in housing affordability. But something I haven't heard at all is us Tacomans wanting to spend more of our tax dollars, see more of our tax dollars going to bomb civilians in Iran. This is not our war. This is a war for the billionaires, for the oil executives, for the arms dealers. This is not for the people of Tacoma. It's not for the people of Iran. It's not for the world. This is for profit. We need to stand for people. We need to stand against war, against imperialism, from Palestine to Iran to the Philippines to everywhere. So, here in Tacoma, I think that we do need to be bringing up these issues because they're connected to the fact that we don't have what we should have when it comes to affordable housing, when it comes to making sure that all working people can make a good life for themselves here in the community. Now I want to invite up my friend, Joy. Okay, I'm gonna go grab my guitar. So I actually wrote a song last night for y'all. Awesome. And this is some new lyrics for a classic folk song. If you know the chorus, feel free to sing along. Netanyahu sabotaged my strap. My ancestors, they taught me to say never again. When I cry out for Palestine, it's because I honor them. Which side are you on? Which side are you on? Tell me, which side are you on? Which side are you on? They say it's for our safety, we must put up a wall. That's just their propaganda. I know a fascist call. Tell me, which side are you on? Which side are you on? Tell me, which side are you on? Which side are you on? We have to stop the bombing, fight for a future of Salam, a world of liberation, a land of Tacoma. Tell me, which side are you on? Which side are you on? Tell me, which side are you on? Which side are you on? Don't stand for the empire, don't listen to its lies. Working people haven't got a chance unless we organize. Tell me, which side are you on? Which side are you on? Tell me, which side are you on? Which side are you on? No war with Iran, free Palestine, and when it comes to U.S. imperialism, just say no.
One more round of applause for Zeb. So another reason that it's so important for us to be here today in the city of Tacoma is because we are in the belly of the beast right now, with one of the most important bases of the empire right next door to us. And it's important for us to understand that this is more than just sending bombs to Palestine. This is more than just sending bombs to Iran. This is also a place where deportation flights are taking off to deport our neighbors. This is where the army is training to take and commit violence in our own neighborhoods. And so as an anti-war veteran, about face, we're here today to tell every Marine, every sailor and soldier, you have the right to refuse, you have the right to say no to criminal orders, you have the right to say no to immoral orders, and you have the right to take direct action against the empire by any means necessary to dismantle it. And so I want to do a quick chant. This is an old chant. It's an anti-war chant from the Vietnam War era. And it goes something like, well, there's a curse in it, so I changed it. It goes like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Refuse to fight a rich man's war. 1, 2, 3, 4. Refuse to fight the rich man's war. Yeah, so up next on our next speaker, we are going to have a member of the Iranian community. Please come up and share. Let's give them a big round, big round, big round.
I said I was not. I am a very short person, so lower this short boy problems. I was gonna keep my mask on, and I'm very. Oh, you can't hear me? Can you hear me now? All right, good, good. Okay, so I don't really even know what to say, frankly. I've written things, I've tried to figure it out. I took my mask off because I'm honestly very, very tired of worrying about my safety when my father is at risk for being bombed right now. Okay, I will get louder. You are asking me to be louder. What could I possibly say to stop a war? This was something a friend of mine recently asked me, another Iranian, and it is something I have asked myself over and over again. ever more so ever since I've been getting asked to speak at these. I've been asked to speak at 2 of these now, and when I ask people, well, what do you want to hear from us? What do you want to hear from a member of the Iranian community? They hit me up with, well, we want to hear from someone in the community. We want to hear how things are impacting you. How is your family? How is this war between Israel and Iran affecting you, and why are you against it? What could I possibly tell you all? There are a lot of things I could say. There are a lot of things people today are going to be saying that have already been said, and I have essentially been asked to somehow weave a narrative into this all, to share my experience of being a second-generation Iranian immigrant and what the last 2 weeks have been like. What it's been like to not hear from my father for a week while I know that bombs are dropping on my homeland. What it's like to not know if he is alive or dead, if my baby cousins are alive or dead. What it's like to know if my cousins have safely evacuated Tehran or not. What it's like to check in with my other Iranian friends in the United States as we frantically text message each other at 4 a.m., 5 a.m. with updates every time we get through that damn internet blackout. I've thought about how I could share this with you all to essentially make you view us more as human. You know, it's very easy to talk about Iranians as though we're an abstract. It's very easy to talk about us as though we're this group of brown people very far across the sea in a country that the United States has convinced many of you is somehow less civilized, which is more than a little hypocritical coming from the United States, which is an imperialist nation with astronomically high mass school shootings, a nation that leaves women to bleed out when they miscarry, a nation that is so deeply anti-black it took away affordable college education, a country that is still actively funding Israel, a terrorist state hell-bent on genociding the Palestinian people. You know, we can talk a lot about why I'm against this war and why it's so bad for a lot of you, of course, but I really want to talk about my father. I want to talk a little bit about myself, so we're not so much of an abstract to you. My father is 68. He lives in Yazd. It's in central South Iran. It is a very, very beautiful city. If you have not looked at pictures of Yazd, please do. I really encourage you to. My father used to live in the United States. He was here for about 40 years practicing internal medicine. He doesn't anymore. He's a smoker, loves his cigarettes, will not give them up. Thinks he is right about everything, as many fathers do. This is a gentle call out to all the fathers here today. When I was a little kid, he took me outside. I was about 5 years old. He taught me how to draw a mouse. That was the first thing he taught me how to draw with a piece of chalk. I can still draw that mouse sometimes. He taught me long division, but the Iranian way, so my teachers were very confused when I showed up to class one day and I was doing it backwards. He stayed up all night when I was a baby with a really, really bad fever. My father was in medical school when I was a baby, and I couldn't stop crying. I wouldn't stop crying as an infant, and my mom tells me that I would only stop crying when he would carry me. And he stayed up all night carrying me that night until I was better. Yesterday, I was able to get on a phone call with him for the first time since Israel started bombing Iran, and I had been damn near losing my mind, not knowing if this man was alive or dead. And the first thing he does is he gets on a call and he asks me, how are you doing? How are you feeling? How is your health? How are you okay? Is your job okay? Are you going to your doctor appointments? He is so worried about his adult child in the United States. Like, he's like, screw the bombs. I want to know if you're okay. I don't know how many of you actually know Iranians. And I mean really know us. I'm not talking about just reading about us in the news or reading our literature even. I mean, you know the love in our words. You know the warmth of sharing a meal with us when we invite you over. Knowing the music in our language, the poetry in our language, knowing what it's like to listen to our music and to laugh with us. The US loves to make it sound like we're a nation of terrorists, that we're all violent and homophobic and transphobic, which is very silly because I am transgender and I am gay. And my father loves me. My family loves me. Really, like kill that narrative in your head if you have it, please. Because I came out to my father thinking I'm gonna have to explain to him what a trans person is. And he's just, of course I love you. I'll always love you. I'll always support you. Why wouldn't I love my child? You know, it doesn't sound like transphobia. It sounds like unconditional love, which a lot of the legislators in this country could learn a thing or two about. Then I get asked, you know, well, what about the regime? What about the Islamic Republic? And, you know, people ask me if Israel could bring a regime change, which there can be no regime change if Iran is reduced to rubble, just as Israel has been doing to Gaza. Israel, who slips oxycodone into flour for starving Palestinians just to slow them down so they're a little easier to shoot. Israel, who uses this to, you know, kill children. You know, people ask why I'm against this war, and the answer is very easy. A war will only kill people like my father. It will kill my aunts, my little cousins, who are both under 10 years old. They should be playing with Barbie dolls, not worried about if they have to evacuate or not. A war will destroy our ancestral homeland, the remains of the orchard my grandfather planted, the resting place of my grandparents' bodies, the place where my father learned to ride a bike. I'm sharing this, and then I have to ask you all, what good is my perspective now? And that's great. I'm very, very happy to see you all here today, but really, really think about what I'm saying is what I'm asking you. What I'm sharing about you, I know this is a rally, and you usually get hyped up at these, but you need this to be asked. Are you sincerely listening to me? Do you see me? And if you are listening to me, and if you are seeing me for the first time today, why have you not seen others before? You know, this, I'm not the first Iranian to speak up. Lots of people have been speaking on these issues for years. Palestinians, Syrians, black people, indigenous people, trans people. We have been speaking, and we have been speaking for a while. This did not start 2 weeks ago. This did not start on October 7, 2022. This definitely did not start in Trump's first term. Please dispel that narrative if you're still holding on to that. This has been going on for much, much longer than that.
That actually wouldn't help at all.
No. It's easy to look away when we're a distant concept, though, you know. How many of you have seen images of Iranians, images of Palestinians under rubble, images of black people from Congo and Sudan? I have not heard anyone talk about Congo or Sudan yet. You know, if there's one thing I need people to stop a war, and the answer is no, I don't know what I could say to convince you all. What I do know is that today isn't enough. It's a start, but it is not enough. You know, what will you do after? Will you go home, have dinner with your families, and say how meaningful it felt to hear my words, and you know, then forget a few days later? Will you let a paper-thin ceasefire lead you back into complacency, while black and brown nations are ruthlessly crushed by the West? I'd hope you not forget us. I'd ask you not to. I'd ask you to remember all I've shared about me, my father, about the love in our family, the love that the U.S. and Israel would have you believe is non-existent. I'd ask you to carry my words when you hear my people called terrorists, animals, when the New York Times refers to us as parasites, insects, and trapdoor spiders. This is a real article I'm referencing, by the way, that did not come out in the last few weeks. It came out a year ago. I'd ask you to speak up, that when you leave this rally, you go home and you find someone you love. You tell them you love them, you hug them. And when you feel that love, you know that that is the same love that I feel when I think about my father, my family. It is the same love all of us feel, that the U.S. would have you believe is not real. That is all I can ask for you. Thank you so much, you guys are amazing.
Let's give a huge round of applause here. Huge, because I want us all to recognize how big it is for people experiencing the type of racism that people are experiencing today. And it takes a lot of courage to come out here in the face of the U.S. empire and racism and to speak out. So one more round of applause, please. You know, of course, we know that this is not new, as our comrade just brought up. The U.S. sponsored a coup in Iran when a democratically elected leader wanted to nationalize the oil and take charge of their own economy. The U.S. sits here now today and wants to claim that Iran is the enemy of the world, and yet it was the U.S. that spent 20 years bombing innocent civilians in Iraq and Afghanistan. Fallujah, where 1/3 of infants born die before they leave the hospital. 1/3 that survive have deformities, and only 1/3 of those that survive make it past their first 2 weeks. The U.S. has bombed Iraq and Afghanistan, Libya, Lebanon, Yemen. The Zionist settler colonial state has bombed all of those. Now they're bombing Iran, and Iran hasn't bombed or attacked a single person in hundreds of years. And the U.S., who dropped 2 atomic bombs on 2 innocent civilian cities, wants to claim that Iran can't be trusted with nuclear weapons, and yet we're the only ones in the world that has dropped them. While the Zionist Israeli regime dropped more bombs in Palestine than were dropped in the entire Pacific theater of World War II. So we know these are racist wars, we know that, so we're going to do a little chant. It goes, hey, hey, ho, ho, these racist wars have got to go, hey, hey. These racist wars have got to go, hey, hey. These racist wars have got to go, hey, hey. Ho, ho, these racist wars have got to go. Yeah. All right. So up next, we have our next speaker. Sean is with the Nuclear Weapons Abolitionist Program Manager for the Washington Physicians for Social Responsibility and a member of Tacoma DSA Steering Committee. Everyone give a big round of applause for my comrade Sean.
My name is Sean Aaron, and I have the unique experience of being one of the only full-time organizers opposed to nuclear weapons in our region. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, there we go.
Thank you, Tim. I'm the opposite of vertically challenged. I don't know if I would say gifted, because this happens a lot. So I ground the work I do in my views as an anti-imperialist, a socialist, in the stories of atom bomb survivors, the Hibakusha, and the stories of people whose lives and lands have been ripped out from under them by the creation of these weapons. People like the Marshall Islanders and the Wanapums of Eastern Washington. Nuclear weapons are the most dangerous weapons ever created, with the capability of destroying almost all life on Earth in less than an hour. Our state, right here, has always been crucial to the existence of these weapons, with 2/3 of the plutonium used in the U.S. arsenal produced at Hanford in Eastern Washington, and the largest concentration of deployed nuclear weapons on Earth at the Bangor Base in Kitsap County. And we've already heard a frenzy of distortions, lies, half-truths relating to Iran and nuclear weapons. So let's get this straight. The Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons, or NPT, is the most widely adopted international framework relating to nuclear technology in the world. It has been signed by every country except South Sudan, North Korea, India, Pakistan, and Israel. Notice I did not say Iran. The NPT is guided by 3 pillars: non-proliferation, disarmament, and the peaceful use of nuclear energy. What the NPT understands is that the use of nuclear technology is incredibly dangerous. Reactor meltdowns like Chernobyl and Fukushima threaten the lives of millions of people. And countries with the technology to produce nuclear energy can use that to produce nuclear weapons. So the nations of the world established the International Atomic Energy Agency, the IAEA, with the authority to inspect nuclear facilities to prevent nuclear disasters. Those are the folks that have been inspecting the sites in Iran. It is an open secret that Israel illegally possesses between 80 and 300 nuclear weapons, and a known fact that the United States is the only country to have used them on civilian populations. Both the United States and Israel have repeatedly violated the sovereignty of nations throughout the Middle East, including Iran's illegal annexations of Palestine and Syria, The U.S. is orchestrating of Operation Ajax, which overthrew President Mossadegh of Iran to prevent the people of Iran from controlling their own oil, taking it from British Petroleum. So the government of Iran, for their own preservation, has worked to develop near nuclear weapon capabilities. And the Iran nuclear deal was struck to provide safety guarantees between the U.S. and Iran. And this deal worked for years, until Donald Trump childishly threw it out. And as you all know, Israel attacked during negotiations for a new deal, targeting and nearly assassinating Iran's head negotiator. Now, the madness of the current logic is that the only thing that prevents the use of nuclear weapons is the same thing that guarantees them: the further proliferation of nuclear weapons. That is the worldview that Israel and the United States seek to foist on the world, that of a renewed, all-out arms race. Israel doesn't just defy international law by possessing nuclear weapons. The United States is defying the NPT by refusing to work towards disarmament. Instead, we are building newer and deadlier nuclear weapons to the tune of $2 trillion. Instead, we are raiding Medicaid in our national parks to pour billions into the fictitious Golden Dome missile defense program. Furthering an arms race while serving as nothing but a golden parachute for the weapons companies that buy our members of Congress. Nuclear weapons use all of our lives as collateral to underwrite the imperial ambitions of the nuclear states. They threaten mass annihilation every day, endorsed by politicians in both parties. My friends, we are not state actors here. We are members of the international working class. We must frustrate the production of these weapons at every turn. We must disarm the genocidal regime of Israel. We must stop a war with Iran. We must join the 96 signers of the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons and abolish nuclear weapons. Whether by luck or foresight, the United States and Israel have yet to severely damage nuclear sites in Iran, such as the Bushehr nuclear reactor, which would have killed at least 250,000 people and irradiated the Persian Gulf. In fact, the IDF had to retract a statement saying they had struck the plan. So friends, if you want justice, work for peace. If you want peace, work for justice. We must be internationalists. The U.S. empire is too big for us to look away. It takes too much of our tax dollars. We must demand better. Thank you. No war with Iran.
All right, now we're going to do a long-time anti-nuke chant. It's relatively simple. It goes, no nukes! No nukes! No nukes! No nukes! No nukes! No nukes! Yeah. And of course, we know that chemical warfare and mass slaughter didn't stop with nuclear weapons and with atomic weapons in World War II. 55 years ago, my uncle was drafted and sent to Vietnam, where he witnessed napalm dropped on the Vietnamese that over the course of the war massacred millions of people. Myself and our about-face veterans watched white phosphorus and depleted uranium used against the Iraqi people. And these types of massacres and crimes aren't going to stop unless we make them stop. So for our next speaker, we're going to have up Joy from Jewish Voices. Everyone welcome Joy!
Can you hear me now? All right, that's good. Our day began with the sound of tank shells, the sound of advancing military vehicles, and the buzzing of flies inside the tent with the heat. The the sound of shells or vehicles didn't matter, had we stopped feeling afraid, or have we become indifferent to our lives, whose chances of survival diminish with every day, every minute, every second? During our displacement in Deir al-Balach, there was a seawater desalination plant. It pumped water to the displaced people, and it was only one long but walkable street away from us. Despite the exhaustion of waiting and carrying buckets, the good thing was we knew where to get water. We were going every morning at 5 a.m. to book a place in the queue. The wait would take an hour or two. If we went later, like 8 a.m., we could wait for 4 to 5 hours just to fill 2 buckets. The internet had been cut off for 3 days in the entire Gaza Strip, except for the town of Nuseirat. I asked Salman if there was any news. He told me there had been a bombing at dawn at an UNRWA school for displaced people, and more than 15 people had been martyred. I asked him if there was any news about our block and whether it had received an evacuation order, because all the residential blocks behind us had received evacuation orders, 106, 107, 108, 109, except for our block, 110. All indications show that we will soon be displaced for the 24th time. Actually, as of this morning, it's 25 because the author just texted me. We've become experts at knowing when we'll be displaced. Then Salman told me that Israel had bombed Iran and that nuclear scientists had been killed in the bombing. And someone said happily, oh, finally they'll forget about us for a while and find someone else to distract them so we could take a breather from the killing and the river of blood. This is just a few passages from some writing that someone I've been communicating with, a young person in Gaza that I've started communicating with. He somehow finds a way to take pictures and put them on Instagram. How many of you have been seeing images and videos and information from people in Gaza on your social media? Raise your hand if you have seen that. We know what's happening, right? We see it every day. So, are they taking a breather now? Now that Iran has been bombed? No! But the world has been distracted somewhat, right? So the genocide can ramp up because eyes have shifted. Now we're worrying about regional war, nuclear catastrophe, nuclear holocaust, instead of the Holocaust that's been going on for almost 2 years in Gaza. My ancestors, they taught me to say never again. When I cry out for Gaza, it's because I honor them. Which side are you on? Tell me which side are you on? So never again. Never again for anyone, right? How is it possible? We have international laws. There's war crimes being committed. How is it possible that this is happening? How is it possible on the human level? How can people do this to one another? It is mind-blowing, right? Speaking of, this has been going on for a while. During the Vietnam War, Rabbi Heschel wrote, he would open his prayer book and he would just see the napalmed babies. He couldn't look in the prayer book without seeing what was happening. How can people be indifferent? And how can human beings, unless, okay, so I can understand psychopaths who from childhood have chopped up cats or something. Like, okay, those psychopaths, I get it. They could perform a genocide. But people who are not, who seem to be psychologically, I mean, what is the explanation? Do you have an explanation for how people continue to do this, and we see this, and everybody knows we're seeing this, and it's continuing? I mean, I used to teach Holocaust literature, and we would discuss, for 25 years, every semester, we would discuss, you know, and it was worth discussing, because it's not, you can't wrap your mind around it. But we can wrap our mind questions around how it happens materially. Because of us, right? We know it can happen because we're funding it. Because the U.S. has been complicitous with Israel for decades. And we talk a good game. We say no more settlements, or Biden says, no, you can't enter Rafah. But ultimately, no, we're just. So we continue funding it. In 2024, the Tacoma taxes, just in Tacoma, were $15 million to fund. And since 10/7, it's been about $30 billion from the U.S. that we fund their weapons. So if you haven't heard of the Block the Bombs Act, how many of you have already contacted your representatives about HR 3565, the Block the Bombs Act? So if you haven't, I have some information about that. I can give you a little handout, make it really easy for you to do that. We also need a companion bill to be introduced in the Senate, so you need to contact Murray and Cantwell. And if you would like to donate money to actually get some food in mouths, it's very difficult to do that, right? Because as you've heard, people are being stifled while they're lining up for the minimum food that's available, the non-nutritious food that's available, and then very non-nutritional now, right? Poisoned flour. But there are still some kitchens that are managing to get food in, and I some contact with that. So, no more war, no more funding for Israel's genocide.
One more for Troy. Keep it going. Keep it going. And of course, I think that we all know, like I said earlier, that what's going on is part of a global attack on indigenous people around the world. This isn't a coincidence that it's Iran and Palestine and Los Angeles, where a lot of the police officers go to Israel to train. This is all part of in the U.S., this is an ongoing genocide because it never ended. The ethnic cleansing of indigenous people never actually ended, and that's what we're seeing down in Los Angeles. That's what we're seeing in our own neighborhoods right now. And so I wanted to do a little chant that sort of gives our solidarity, and it, just repeat after me, goes like this. From LA to Palestine, occupation is a crime. From Palestine to Iran, bombing children is a crime. From LA to Palestine, occupation is a crime. From Palestine to Iran, bombing children is a crime. Yeah. All right, I just had two quick announcements that I was supposed to make at the beginning. One is we do have a police liaison who's going to raise their hand right there in the yellow vest. In the event that a police officer shows up here, you just go ahead and point them that direction, and then you don't talk. You what? You shut up. You shut up. Point to our police liaison, and then don't say anything. Secondly, it's hot out here. Make sure you're drinking water. So up next we have Stephen. Stephen is a member of Jewish Voice for Peace, and he's going to come up and talk now. Everyone give a big round of applause for Stephen.
Hi, everybody. I'm going to be pretty brief today. I want to talk about two things that are connected. I'm a climate scientist, and I'm also a member of JVP. I cannot help but see the connection between these things. One of them is our addiction to fossil fuels as a nation. I'm just going to point to, well, Mount Rainier is over there. We used to glaciers on Mount Rainier. Now we have only 26 glaciers. And that, what we have really done, I mean, that's a terrible, what do you call it, a crime? But what we've really done is we've sacrificed that part of our natural world to fossil fuels. The second part that I want to connect this to is our addiction to war. The fascist governments actually need war, and I think we all know that. Wars make other wars. Just to give some examples of how big the impact and the connection between these is, Israel, not to pick on Israel, but Israel used to emit per person, about 6 tons of carbon dioxide to the air every year, okay? Nowadays, Israel is emitting 9 tons of carbon dioxide to the air, not every year, every person, every year, now 9 tons, and the difference is the war that they are waging on Gaza. Shane is right, but they're connected, and you can tell the same story for other countries. We are addicted to war, we are addicted to fossil fuels, and we use the fossil fuels to perpetrate that war, and that's what we have to stop. That's what we have to figure out a way to stop. The average Americans, I'm sorry, we're more at like 20 tons of carbon that we put into the air every year. Who is right? We have already, as a world, come up to almost 2 degrees of warming. The trajectory that we are on will commit us to even more and worse warming. But here's the deal. We don't have enough transparency in our own country to know how much of our carbon signature is due to war. We know the rest of the world, our country is bathed in secrecy on that, and that's another thing, another point that we have to learn about, and so that we can know. Globally, we do know though, even without wars, even without the wars that we're doing, just baseline preparation for war across the country and in fact across the world, that baseline war-making capability, the C-130s that fly over us all the time, those are worth about the same carbon emissions as the entire European Union. Think about that. Just our own preparation for war globally puts out as much CO2 as the entire European Union. Those are numbers that we should, I think, all be enough familiar with and be willing to call our governments out on that. And I think that's all I have to say. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much. Keep it going for Steve. And I think an important thing to point out with climate change and the climate collapse, that it's here and it's now, is that war in Iran, war in Palestine, war on the streets of Los Angeles against our everyday neighbors, democratic cities all across the country building cop cities to train our police in urban warfare training, sending our police to train with the Israeli military. Why is that? Because imperialism abroad and fascism at home is the climate plan. That is the climate plan for capitalism. And that means it's going to take all of us, every single one of us, fighting together, unifying together. Everyone has a role. Everyone has a unique and beautiful part to play in resisting fascism. Whether you're out there baking cookies for your mutual aid project, whether you're organizing door knocking, whether you're on the front lines fighting ICE, what doesn't matter what you're doing, a lawyer, this, that, an artist, find a way to plug in, organize with your people, and we're gonna fight back. Because there ain't no power like the power of the people. Power of the people don't stop. don't stop. There ain't no power like the power of the people, 'cause the power of the people don't stop. Yeah! Give yourselves a round of applause today. Coming out here in the heat. All right, our next speaker is Dylan from the International Campaign for Human Rights in the Philippines.
Thank you, everyone. My name is Dylan. I'm with PUSO, which means heart in Tagalog, and it stands for the Philippine-U.S. Solidarity Organization. We're a newly formed chapter here in Tacoma. As an organization in solidarity with the Filipino people's struggle for self-determination and true democracy, we are enraged at Trump's attacks on Iran. Truthfully, Trump did not start this conflict, as other people have pointed out. This is in the context of decades of U.S. intervention in Palestine, Iran, Iraq, and around the world. We know that this is not actually about our protection. This is about oil. This is about economic and political dominance. I just came back from the Philippines. I visited with the International Coalition for Human Rights in the Philippines. We went to Marawi, a city in the Bangsamoro region, which has been home to the largest Palestinian solidarity protests in the Philippines. It's primarily a Muslim region. In 2017, the armed forces of the Philippines bombed the city to rubble, displacing 1.1 million civilians. Those troops were trained and directly supported by the U.S. military, including Green Berets from JBLM. We crossed the bridge where all of those people had to flee from the destruction. And one man told us that he has recurring nightmares where he is back on that bridge, running for his life, but his legs get too heavy to move, and he is stuck there with bullets and bombs raining down behind him. 8 years later, we just passed the anniversary of that attack. 8 years later, bombed out buildings, bullet-ridden buildings are still standing, empty, and people have not been able to return home. This is in a country where 10,000 people have to leave every day, becoming migrants and overseas workers, because the government would rather cut arms deals with the U.S. than meet the basic needs of its people. This is the legacy of U.S. imperialism and what they call counterterrorism. But that doesn't just cause senseless violence, it is targeted. The U.S. trains its soldiers and other nations in how to repress the people. In other areas that we visited in the Philippines, we interviewed peasants, workers, organizers, and church folk facing surveillance and repression for advocating for their communities and speaking out against the government. One church leader we talked to was followed and interrogated at gunpoint by an agent of the state because he refused to speak anything but the truth when he was on the pulpit. He urged me and my companions, do not let our stories remain in your notebooks. And echoing our first speaker today, and echoing his words, I in turn urge you, do not let your solidarity, your love, your rage end with you. Ignite the fire of justice in your community and let us build a united front against U.S. imperialism so that all oppressed peoples of the world can be truly free. We're calling for the U.S. and Israel out of Palestine and Iran, U.S. out of the Philippines. And when I say long live, I want y'all to say international solidarity. Long live international solidarity. Long live international solidarity. Thank you very much.
All right, sisters, brothers, and siblings, again, give yourselves a big round of applause. So I wanted to end our chants today with one of my favorites. It's a call and response, and I'm gonna slowly speed it up so that we can get a last little bit and everyone in this damn city can hear us. It's pretty simple. I will say, when the fascists say more war, you will say, the people say no war. And as I speed up, I'll say, fascists say more war, you say, we say no war. Ready? When the fascists say more war, 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 fascists say more war. Yeah! So the last thing I wanted to say before we call it is that... Oh. Okay. We have one more speaker. Correct, we do. So I'll bring up our last speaker and then I will say what I have to say. Our last speaker is a member of the local Muslim community. Please welcome our comrade up here.
I was really hoping I got out of that, but I see that I couldn't. First of all, I just want to thank Sally for bringing me in today. Honestly, when she asked me to speak, I was resistant. I didn't want to do it because I haven't been as active in the last couple months as I was last year. And I felt like it would be hypocritical of me to stand in front of everyone with this great speech, but why I'm here is because of something she told me on the phone that's been really resonating with me and it's been really sticking with me. So I'm shouting at Sally, but she told me that the attempt is painful, but the attempt is all we have. And I had to sit with that, I had to really ruminate with that and figure out what that meant for me. And it was a big reminder for me in that moment because I had been feeling like my capacity to advocate, my capacity to be an activist was really ebbing and flowing, and I wanted to make sure that everything that I said was very authentic today. And so I'm using that as part of my speech, and I hope it resonates for anyone who feels the ebbs and flows of advocacy, and know that you're not alone in that, and that there are different things that we can do to kind of keep the highs and lows and still stay unified in our message. So first, something I want to pass on to you in the hope that it re-energizes you like it did for me is just the message of justice is extremely huge and a huge part of my faith. And as we all know, there are many, many injustices happening locally, nationally, and overseas. So how do we respond to all of these? Islam teaches us something extremely powerful. We are taught that when we witness injustice, we have 3 paths we can take, and I want to share them with you. Not to instruct, but to invite myself first and everyone else, and to reconnect and remind us that there is always something we can do. The first option is, if you see injustice, to stop it with your hands. This is a direct action, kind of like what Zeb was saying, what Sean has been saying. It's really about putting yourself in the midst of the action and doing what you can with your hands, with your time, with your words. It's like the brave resistance in Gaza, fighting every day for every single second of life, like Greta Thunberg and the activists aboard the Gaza Freedom Flotilla. risking everything to bring food to starving people. It's like the indigenous activists here who last year took to the water in freezing temperatures to block ships carrying weapons bound for Israeli army. It can also look like standing on the I-5 overpass waving the Palestinian flag, or honking your horn in solidarity, or raising your fist at a march. These moments may seem small, but they build the collective muscle of resistance. When the momentum is high and the energy is there, this is where we need to put our hands together and get active. So wherever you see injustice, stop it with your hands. The second, if you cannot stop it with your hands, speak out with your words. Words have power and they carry energy. You feel it when the right words hit you, they give you chills. You never know what words you say might carry someone or invite them to something. Something small to you may be life-changing for someone else. Sometimes you don't even need words to make a statement. Sometimes you wear it, sometimes you embody it, you sing it, you write it, you draw it. I was personally raised on Bob Marley music, and the Rastafarian philosophy of peace and love really resonated with me growing up. But Bob Marley also said, emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. Education is the first step toward emancipation, and the second step is using what we've learned to teach others who may not know. So wherever you see injustice, stop it with your words. Lastly, and this is the one I've been sitting with most lately, if you can't act or speak, then hate it with your heart. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, whoever among you sees a wrong, let them change it with their hand. If they cannot, then with their tongue, and if they cannot, then with their heart. And that is the weakest of faith. This is where I've been sitting at the most, like I said. There's been a constant ache in my heart. There's been a constant heartbreak. And I know that we all carry it as well, and it's this quiet knowing. And that's still resistance. As our capacity and energy ebbs and flows, know that participating in any of these is an act of resilience, of resistance, of constant vigilance. So wherever you see injustice, stop it with your heart. Now, I haven't spoken directly about Iran yet, and that's intentional, because it's just like it didn't end with Palestine, it won't end with Iran. The machine of war and imperialism is not new, and it's not isolated. But our promise to each other, every person standing here today, is that we will all attempt. We will make mistakes, we will get tired, and it's why we're here. It's why we'll keep standing against injustice wherever we see it, with our hands, our words, and our hearts. Thank you for showing up today, and thank you, Sally, for bringing me back in. Free Palestine, and Samaya just wanted to say a couple words.
Stress, as our comrade was getting at just now, is that, I think one of the lessons that we've learned from this gigantic victory for people out in New York City with the election of Zohra Mamdani is that when we organize, when we fight, when we wield our political power together, we can win. And this is also being shown to us in Los Angeles by our comrades that are stepping up and doing direct action, fighting the occupations in their neighborhoods. They're wielding their political power together. So it can seem really hopeless right now. It can seem hopeless. We're all scared. We see fascism rising and we're scared. But this is our time to be brave. This is our time to step up. Generations past have gone through this, and they fought so that we could be here today. And we're gonna fight, so that little youngster that just came up here and said Free Palestine can live in a free world, because that's what we have to do, and we're gonna do it. Because when we fight, we can win. Thank you all so much for coming today. Give yourselves a big round of applause. If anyone feels like they might need a walk home to their car because they don't feel great, go ahead and ask one of our comrades over here in About Face Veterans, and they will take care of you. Thank you.